Standard Time on DCandCompanyRadio.com and DC In Company Entertainment on Facebook. Speak up, speak out with your host, Eric Bowen.
There's a couple shirts that what's his name gave to me. He gave me 10 of them.
7 p.m. DC and Company, powered by Speak Up and Speak Out. Yeah, y'all. So we live right now. We live 7 o'clock, DC and Company. Please, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, especially dads today, I'm gonna say everybody, but especially dads, 440-242-9287, and or right in that comment section on Facebook. Don't be scared to ask no questions. So today we have our wonderful, powerful, motivational guest, Mr. Carlos Christian. Welcome, good brother. Welcome to the show.
Carlos. Good brother, how you doing, man?
Yeah, we here.
Ain't no doubt, ain't no doubt.
Yes, sir. I couldn't wait to get you to the show. I've worked with Carlos in the past, and we actually drove down to Columbus in the wintertime, and I believe it was an MLK event, and we went and did, man, I brought him to Lorain County. I don't know if you've been here before that and spoke. We spoke in Lorain that particular day, but you just brought the house down, man, and he's a powerful, real motivational speaker, so I'm honored to have you here.
Yeah, man, it's good to be here, man. You talk about speak up, speak out. That's a powerful phrase, man. You know?
Sir. Yes, sir.
You can't be heard if you don't speak up and speak out.
That's it.
You know what I mean?
Speak up and speak out, yeah. So that
Absolutely.
came from Brother James Taylor and then Brother Shoemate. They passed away, but they had a radio show, and I used to listen to them when I was young, and they would just talk and bring empowerment. One was kind of more radical, one was a little bit more smooth and kind of, just chill. So we're going to bring a little bit of that today and speak up and speak out. So let's get your story. Let's talk about where you from, how you came up, and we'll move on from there.
Okay, yeah. So I grew up in Oberlin, Ohio. Just powerful, man. Just a beautiful thing, man, to me, and that's what developed me. So yeah, I grew up single parent household. My father raised me and my brother.
Whoa.
So my mother, she got caught up in the street life, and got incarcerated when we was children.
Okay.
Right? So but my father, he just stepped up and did what he needed to do alongside my grandmothers, and then he also got with his wife, and then when he got with his wife, and then me and my stepbrother, we moved all together in the same house, So, but about 13 years old, my father, he was working and things like that. So, but that just opened me and my brothers up to being able to go out there into the neighborhood,
Without dad being around so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So the supervision was,
Structure.
it was limited. The supervision wasn't there because, my father was working. So he was working second shift from like 12 to 10. Okay. So then that left us open to be able to really move around in the neighborhood.
At 13.
At 13 years old is when I was 13 years old. Is when I really got into it, So I started selling marijuana.
Okay.
When I was 13 years old in the school, during the school time of 13, and by the summertime I was selling crack.
Okay.
Wow. So I just said to myself, because of the information and the environment, I was thinking that this is the best way for me to be able to get to my next level.
Right.
Because people used to tell me, like, Los, man, this is how you get it done, man. This is how you be able to come up, is by utilizing the resources, which is what? Drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Either you selling drugs or you robbing. So I said, man, I'm going to go ahead and sell drugs. So I committed to that and thinking that I was going to be able to get to a level of power.
Now, when you say this is what people were telling you, of course, without naming,
yeah.
But, who's telling you this? Because I think this is a powerful message.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is where it starts, y'all. This, your homies, this who was telling you, or you're saying just older cats that you looked up to, or what?
Yeah, that's what it was too. It was the people who was in the neighborhood, so then they was also selling drugs as well. And they just made it look so good. It just looked like so much freedom came attached to selling drugs because they was making money hand over fist. So with me seeing that at 13 years old with a young mind, I'm saying to myself, man, I'm about to take this opportunity as well. I can get to it, and I really believed it.
Yeah.
And that was the difference. I really believed it right? So, and then that's why I just went on ahead and got to it, you know?
This is
Right,
early
right,
90s.
right.
Yeah, this early 90s. Yeah, this is early 90s.
Right.
I want to take everybody back, and we know the culture.
Yeah.
So let's move
Yeah,
on.
absolutely. So this early 90s. But yeah, so I just got to it, and I took it to the level that I could take it to all the way up until 19 years old.
Okay.
You know, and that's when I got hit. You know, I got hit at 19 to a 10-year prison sentence. I pled guilty to attempted murder, possession of drugs, drug trafficking, and possession of firearms.
So that's interesting for me because we go from 13 and then you made it to 19. So you progress. Not only did you start selling marijuana, you progressed. And then when you name some of them cases, it's like, okay, he became not only a young boy that didn't have, like you said, the structure, if you will, at the time because of your father's work time, but you've learned a lot from 13 to 19.
Yeah, absolutely right. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Yeah, so just buying cars and things like that. Now, I'm not telling you that I was buying Corvettes and Benzes and things like that. I was buying Cutlasses and Caprices. I'm not going to tell you that I was a millionaire. No. I was a thousandaire.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely,
So
yeah.
I don't have that
It was
story.
worth $1 million to you, right? In your mind frame, you're a teenager.
Yes.
And this stuff was worth.
But that's coming from the
absolutely.
mud. That's like bubbling. That's,
Yeah.
that's for us as young black men.
Right.
From nothing walking,
Yeah.
I got my own ride.
With the rims on it, man. You know.
The 90s, y'all. Just trying to take y'all back. He got a story
With the
to
big
tell.
old chrome
Just trying to
rims,
bring y'all
man.
in.
The deep dishes that poke out. You
Didn't
know?
nobody really tell you nothing back then.
Yeah, no doubt, absolutely right,
okay,
and that's a
let's
fact.
keep going. Let's keep going.
That's a fact. Yeah, so I just was convinced that I had the way, you know. So, but yeah, at 19 years old, that's when I had realized that all of that information that I had digested was bogus information.
Okay.
I was 19 years old. My son was 3 months old. I had just had my son, and I'm sitting here in Marion Correctional Institution serving out a 10-year prison sentence. Wow. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, I say, man, hold up, man. This ain't the spot, man. I don't like prison. This ain't where it's at. And one thing that I used to see, too, is when people had got released from prison, they used to come home and they used to act as if it was no problem. Like they did it, man, standing on their head. You know, this is the information, this is the conversation that they would have. And I would see people celebrating them. And I would say, wow. I mean, is this all that can happen? I mean, why not? I'm going to go ahead and go all the way at it then.
Party.
Yeah, you get a party. You know, people celebrate people coming home from prison more than they celebrate somebody graduating summa cum laude from college.
Right.
Sure.
Preach.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, like it was on vacation.
Yeah, people giving them money, you know, buying shoes, buying clothes, and you like, wow, man. I mean, this
Can't
ain't
wait
that
to get
bad,
out.
you know.
Can't wait
Now
to
I
get out.
wasn't trying to go to prison, but I had the mindset of if prison happens, oh well,
Right.
you know.
Right.
But I'm gonna give it all I got to try to get to where I want to get to at the end of the day, and that was the mindset. I just didn't think that prison just wasn't a deterrent.
Right. Got you. So now you're in Marion.
Yes.
You already got sentenced. You said 10 years.
Yeah, 10 years.
At
I
19.
pled guilty to that. Yep.
Okay. At 19 years old.
At 19.
With a young son.
Yep. 3 months old.
When did the reality check kick in?
Man, when I was in Lorain County Jail, right?
Okay.
So I'm not the type of person to like pretend like I'm winning. I really gotta be winning, right? And if I'm not winning, I'm gonna respond as such,
Absolutely.
right? So I'm not gonna sit up there and be delusional and say, man, I'm winning, and everybody knows that I'm losing, right? And I'm not. So I understood. From my situation, my condition, the conditions that I was in, I said, man, this is not victory. You know, when the cell doors closed and my movements was restricted, I said, man, hold up, man. I gotta be around people I don't even like.
Yeah, with lunch train and
Man, come on, man. Like I'm talking about because you gotta be around all of these different personalities, right? And being around all of these different personalities, and you gotta make that work for you.
Right.
Because you can't get away from them. Right. You know, in school, you might be around people that you might not like, you don't vibe with because you don't like the cloth that they cut from, but you have the opportunity to go home.
Right. Absolutely. Not there.
You can separate from him, right? But I
Say
can't
it.
separate from this joker who my bunkie.
Right.
Right. So this is what helped me to be able to understand quickly that, man, hold up, man, this ain't it. And everybody around me laughing and giggling like it's funny.
Yeah.
I used to look at them and say, man, this ain't nothing funny. What's funny about this?
Right.
You know, and so I just took it on in a serious way. But this is the thing about it, man. When I was selling drugs, I was serious in my head. You know, so I wasn't playing. I was like, man, I'm about to do this and I'm about to do it at a high level. I'm not about to be playing around. So I never had the mindset of play. And when I got incarcerated, that's why I said, man, I'm abandoned from selling drugs, because when I started to look at it, I said, man, this is play. Me selling dope and me out here in the streets, this is actually play.
Right. Absolutely.
Like, I'm not really taking care of my children like this. I'm not really taking care of my son like this. I'm locked up. You know, I'm putting myself in a situation to get killed or be in the joint for 24, 25 years. So I just started to say, man, hold up, man. I'm not serious with life.
So that was inner.
Yeah, that came from the inside. These is all conversations that is happening internally.
Right.
You know,
but that's powerful for me because what I know you to do is go out and give that to people. So some people don't have that inner, is what I'm seeing and what I already know. But for you to go within, like we said, Malcolm, he had people come to him and he was taught and whatever not. But something inside you said this ain't the way.
Yeah. But this is the thing, It's in us all, man.
Yeah.
Like, we got a victorious spirit.
Absolutely.
And everybody who's on the face of this earth got a victorious spirit, right? You supposed to be here. Ain't nobody snuck down here on the face of this earth. It's just that you gotta wake it up. You know, some people you gotta do a little bit more to wake it up.
Right.
You know, but it's in us all. And once you wake it up, now people can move in a victorious way.
Indeed.
Right? But that spirit gotta be awakened. You know, so but with me, it was always screaming. You know, I wanted to win. Man, I wanted to win in every race. I wanted to win in every fight. I wanted to win in everything I did. Right? So it was always, man, wide awoke in me. Right? So that's why when I got incarcerated, it conflicted against my spirit.
Right.
Yeah.
Transformation had to be.
Yeah.
And that's the part I was trying to hit on, because I understand, like, a lot of people, you know, they go through their emotions or whatever not, but like you said, it got to be woken up. There's got to be something in you that's going to make you fight.
Yeah.
Being locked up wasn't good for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So now I say that I got to reposition myself, right? I got to redesign myself, because the way that I was going at life, it put me in a losing situation.
Right.
So now I say, okay, let me go ahead and redesign myself. Then let me get busy. You know,
what does that look like?
Yeah.
What does that look like?
I need to start to digest different content.
Okay.
Right, because it's my mind that's doing all of this work to my life that I don't like. Right, so my mind is set up and it's been developed off of the content from the hood.
Right.
Los, man, you got to get this crack, man. Los, man, somebody step on your toes, man, go ahead and blow their heads off, right? Like, this is the content that developed my mind.
Right.
So now I got to go out there and get different content, right? Okay. So I can redesign my mind. So now my mind can work for me and not against me.
Gotcha. Wow. Right.
Mind is the greatest tool, baby.
Yeah. Woo.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yes, it is.
Some more of this content. So, because I'm trying to, you doing it, but trying to hope sort of we can paint this picture of right now with some of our young boys, especially young girls too, but some young boys. What are we feeding them? What are they getting? What's the information that's being fed to them all the time? So let's talk about a little bit more of your content. Let's talk about, let's go into that. How do you start changing? And is it a day? Is it a couple days? Is it something where I'm just going cold turkey?
Right. No, it's just gradual.
It's gradual.
Right. So you just continue to digest more content and you start to get more and more in the space that you need to be. So one of the things that I did is that I got into scripture. So I just started to digest scripture.
Okay.
My grandmother, she's from the South, and she told me about it, right? And when she told me about it, now this is when I was fighting my case. So as you see how my cases are set up, it was attempted murder, possession of drugs, drug trafficking, possession of firearms.
Okay.
I caught the possession of firearms, drug trafficking, and possession of drugs. I caught those cases before, and I bonded out, right? I bonded out, and then 6 months later, I caught the attempted murder charge.
Right. All
Right.
now.
Yeah, absolutely. But during the time that I was out and I was out on bond, that's when my grandmother introduced me to scripture.
Wow.
Because she said, Carlos, man, you need to go ahead and sit in this tub with all of these oils and spices and things like that and just read the book of Proverbs, right? And this is going to get you out your case. And I said, man, okay. I mean, hey, I ain't trying to do no time, Grandma. Now, I wasn't raised in scripture. I didn't have no idea of anything about scripture. I never went to church or anything like that when I was coming up, right? Because my father never had us go to church. Right. So I had no idea. I didn't know why Christmas was Christmas. I didn't know why Easter was Easter. I'm talking about that ignorant to like religion.
Everything.
To the Bible.
Right. Yeah, I'm not ignorant to it, right? So when I started reading the Proverbs, I started to say, wow, man, this is some real stuff.
Right.
And it started to do something to me. So I said, man, at that time when she introduced it to me, when I was out on bond, I say, man, I'm going to go ahead and put that away, man, because this is about to jinx my life because I'm out here still selling crack. And I'm even selling crack even at a higher level than I was before I got arrested. Because I'm like, man, I need to pay. I got to pay Michael Duff. I got Michael Duff at that time, and he was like really good at that time. So I'm like, I'm paying Michael Duff, and I'm like, man, I got to get my money up. So I said, man, I can't be playing with God. And that's when I had went on ahead and just said, I'm going to put that in my trunk. I didn't want to throw it away. So I just put the Bible in the trunk because I felt like if I threw it away, it was going to do something to me too. So I was in a conundrum. I say, man, I can't throw it away and I can't read it. I got to do something with it. So I say, let me just put it up under my speakers. Right. But when I got incarcerated, I went back there.
Okay.
Because I said, man, let me go back into that scripture that I was reading that I thought was so real at the time, but I was afraid. Right. Now let me go ahead and open back up that book again. Right. Gotcha. And that's when I just got to it. I read from Genesis to Revelation. It was just me in the book. I wasn't going to church. I was just reading the book and going to Bible study to get an understanding. I wasn't into just trying to like hoopla and run around and stuff. I wanted to get the information so I can develop my mind so I can actually move in power. Because at the time I felt like I was moving in a weak way. Right. Because I succumbed to my peers, the dominant thinking of my peers. Yeah, absolutely. I became who they said that I had to be. Right. And it cost me 10 years, so I didn't feel too real. And I said, man, I got to do something different. And that's why I got so invested into understanding the scripture. And I just let that saturate my mind, you know, and my mind just started to just get different. You know, I started to think different. And because I started to think different, I started to move different. And this is inside of the penitentiary. Okay. You know, I stopped cussing inside of the penitentiary. I had heard that the tongue is the smallest muscle in the body, but it's the hardest to control. Yet it defiles the whole body. So I said, man, let me stop cussing then. Like, I really did challenge myself in the middle of the jungle. I said, I'm going to stop cussing in the middle of the jungle. Right. And I stopped cussing. Right. Powerful. I said, man, I'm going to control my tongue. If I control my tongue, then I can control my life.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, so I just started to apply this stuff, man.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
So scripture, powerful, very powerful.
That's my foundation.
That's the foundation, absolutely.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right.
So let's move. So you're into your bid, your first bid. You done found scripture. You didn't necessarily find a particular religion. You just found scripture to help you. I don't even want to say cope, but it was medicating. It sounded like it was like really, really powerful, really working. So how do you start implementing things that you? I don't even want to get into. Well, we're gonna get into it anyway. But how do you start implementing who you became.
Yeah. Because if you read the scripture, it's telling you exactly how to be.
Right.
Right?
Live your life.
Right. Yeah, it's telling you how to be.
Right.
Right? And that's what it's all about. Because that's what we struggle from in these environments is that we don't know how to be. And we become these individuals that get incarcerated, that get killed. You know, this is who we become.
Right.
And I think it's by design, but that's neither here nor there. But anyway it goes, we become everything that's contradictory to who we supposed to be. And that's why we don't move in the power. But that scripture, what it did, it just helped me to discover, man, how to be. Right. You know, how to be, how to look at things, you know, not being judgmental, not looking down on nobody, not looking up to nobody, looking eye level with everybody. It just gave me a sense of balance because before, when I was on the streets, you know, you had those people that you would look down on because you'd be like, man, hold up, man, you smoking and stuff like that, or you addicted to drugs and things like that, and I'm making money, you know, and you look down on people. You know, that's where you at a disadvantage at. Because it's arrogance. Right. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So what scripture taught me to do is, man, ain't nobody bigger than nobody.
Right.
So now it's like, man, now I can be in a space where, you know, I can just look eye level with everybody. You know,
right.
Absolutely.
He understand me. He's not trying to preach to me or talk down to me. We're working with me.
Yeah, no doubt. It ain't about what you do. It's about who you are.
Indeed.
You know, and that's one thing that the scripture did for me. It helped me to get that level of confidence.
Okay.
Right? Because confidence is built on truth. Arrogance is built on lies, man. Confidence, it gives you the light, right? But the truth gives you the light.
Right.
But the lies, it gives you more dark.
Right.
You know, so that's what the scripture did. It just helped me to be able to become more confident in my own skin.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Very confident.
Yeah,
very
absolutely.
confident.
And tell
Not
brothers,
cocky.
I ain't not cocky.
No, I
confident.
got that from you.
No.
Yeah, always confident.
Confident,
Absolutely.
right? I know who I am. I know the design that I'm in, right? I know that I'm created in God's image. Greater he that is in me than he that is in the world. Like, I believe that.
Right.
And when I believe that, it's like, man, hey, man, ain't nobody inside of this prison gonna tell me I'm less than.
Right.
Ain't no correctional officer, ain't no warden, ain't no news, ain't nobody gonna tell me that I'm less than. They said that I was a monster, but it bounced off of me. Right? Because I had the truth in me.
Indeed.
So they said, man, hey, he's a monster. He shot his friend in the head, point blank range. This is a monster, right? He threw away his life. That's what they said.
Right.
But when I was letting that truth go around in my head, man, it was just totally different. I came to a different conclusion.
And that's a positivity.
Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of people go to the joint or prison, if you will, and adapt around the people they're around. And
that's more times than not.
Right. Adapt.
You know?
And because you said something earlier that made me think about a lot of folks get institutionalized. And I'm sure you may dealt with that terminology or not. I want to get into the fact that you wrote a book. And then was that part of the, you wrote several books. Accomplished author, accomplished speaker. So is that part of the transitional period, or is that when you're there? Because writing that book, and this, I want to make sure we talk about the book, get the information. I'll talk about the first book and then how they can receive this book, but how that book came along. Yeah, so people think that I thought it starts with it inside of the prison. People think that I wrote the books inside of the prison. Okay.
No, this stuff happened outside of the prison, right? This was 7 years after I was released that I wrote Prison Without Bars. And Prison Without Bars is saying, how did I become free while I was incarcerated to never get incarcerated ever again? So then that means I was in prison, but I was in prison without the bars. Right. You see what I'm saying? So then that's why it's called Prison Without Bars. And I wrote that book 7 years after I was released when my guy from he used to come up and down from Maryland. Okay. You know, my guy, Zeke, he used to come up and down from Maryland. His father stayed in Oberlin, you know, and he did some time with me in Marion. But when he came home, he did some different things, and he started his own business. Just a powerful young brother, right? But he had ended up giving me a link to Brandon Bouchard Total Product Blueprint. And in that, it was how to write a book. And it gave you the framework on how to write a book.
Okay.
It says A, B, C, D. And when he gave me that framework 7 years after I had been released, I wrote the book in 15 days.
Wow.
15 days.
Yeah, because all of that stuff was in me.
It was all you just had to release it.
When I had the framework, it was like, boom, it just came out and it was fire. And when I was writing it in a way that like, man, you know what? I need my people to get this information.
Right. I need to get it out.
I need to get it out,
Yeah.
right? Because everybody ain't going to come in contact with me.
Okay.
So I need them to come in contact with my voice, regardless if you don't see me in the flesh.
Right. So you always had a vision to write a book up until that time while you were in the joint, or so that was part of the plan?
Nah, actually, I was going to be a rapper.
Okay. Okay. You're going to get the message out.
I was gonna be a rapper, man.
Right.
Yeah. And I remember people was like, man, Los, man, you ain't cussing as a rapper, man. You a rapping Bill Cosby. You know, people,
Right.
they was coming with their little cracks and stuff. And I'm like, man, but I was talking about real stuff. I was talking about, man, how to overcome, you know, just this life, you know, and that's what my music was based on.
Absolutely.
You know, just real stuff, you
Right,
know.
right.
So, but again, when I came home and I played it for my brother, and he looked at me and said, Los, man, you sound like the X-Clan, man. He said, man, I don't know, man. It's just a lot of big words, man. It's hard to understand all that stuff.
Right.
And then that's when I went away and got a job, man.
Yeah.
I said, man, let me go ahead and get a job. I said, it look like my career ain't gonna take off, man. So he told me that. I said, man, you ain't feeling that, man.
Right.
He's like, you talking some stuff, man, but it's just a lot of stuff, man.
A little too heavy.
I don't even know half the words you're talking about. You know, my vocabulary was so extensive. I'm like,
Right.
and I'm trying to put it all in there. It's like 4-5 syllables.
You told us everything you do.
Right.
You going in. You going in
Absolutely. Right. So when he said that, and I'm like, man, well, forget it. I'm about to just go ahead and work then. I got me a job and just worked at. Minimum wage job, $6.85 an hour.
Wow.
Back in
You got
2007.
your degree before you got out the penitentiary, correct?
Well, you can say that, but it wasn't the degree. It was the advanced business management certificate,
Okay.
right? Because they cut you short before you get a degree.
Oh, wow.
Right. Like, so I got all that you can get. I ain't leave no food on the table.
Right.
If you asking that, I ain't leave no food on the table.
Right.
Brother, I got a business, I got an administrative office technology, vocational training. I learned the computers, Microsoft, Excel, PowerPoint, Word, and Access. I learned Spanish, Exio, mucho, pero, suayo, mucho, a la mesa, right? I said I got everything that they had. I got my teeth cleaned twice a year from the dentist. I made sure I
That's why they
kited.
so
I got everything they had on the table, brother.
3.86.
3.83 GPA in business management. I could have took those credits though and just took them to another college out here and got my degrees. Right.
Absolutely.
But I just got to work.
Just got to work.
Yeah, I got to work. I ain't have time to go to no daggone college. I said I got to get to work. You know, I done been gone since my whole 20s, and my son was 10 years old.
Wow.
So it's like, man, I ain't got time to be going to no college and playing around. I'm about to go ahead and get to work. I got all of the information now. Right. I got all of the information from the college to be able to develop my mind to create opportunities, right? So now if I was to go to college, it would just be to show somebody a degree. So I just said to myself, man, hey, I'm going to go ahead and just get to it and just build my life.
Ladies and gentlemen, first half, Carlos Christian, come back in soon. DC and Company, speak up and speak out. We'll be right back. We're going to talk about getting to work, what that work has been about, what that work is doing. We'll be right back.